What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right. In modern day basketball and in the sports world, I'd say from the early to mid 1990s onward, the general consensus has been that Michael Jordan is arguably the greatest basketball player of all time. Of course, over the better part of the last decade, there's been a concerted effort by LeBron James and the media to catapult him into that conversation and into that position. Not even a debate. He just wants to be in that position. And it does seem to be having some effect. Even though Jordan is still seen by the majority as the greatest, when it comes to the younger generation, LeBron is starting to catch up, unfortunately. And that's not that surprising considering that a lot of young people are not all, but a lot of them are not properly informed about a lot of things. But let it be known that it's not a monolith opinion that Jordan is the GOAT. There are people who don't believe that he's the greatest player of all time. I tend to be one of them. I tend to believe it's Will Chamberlain. But at the same time, I don't have a problem with anybody saying it's Will. I have a problem with anyone saying it's Michael Jordan. But I tend to think it's Will Chamberlain. Rick Barry, former basketball great, does not believe that Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. And he gave his reasons recently in an interview. Now, Rick Barry has always been a person who has had interesting opinions. And this is what he had to say. Quote, I keep hearing he's the greatest, told Jordan. And that upsets me, Barry expressed in a candid moment, underscoring his frustration with the GOAT discourse. It's not fair to other players. You can't compare a two-guard to a center. There are 5 different and distinct positions. He did concede, however, that Jordan is the greatest two-guard I ever saw and the most exciting player that he'd ever seen. So that's something. I think that's fair. However, I thought I recall hearing Rick Barry say in the past, I don't know if he still feels this way, but I thought I recall him saying a couple of times he thought that Will Chamberlain was the greatest player he ever saw. So take that for what it's worth. Now, for people that want to go in on Rick Barry, look, Rick Barry has a tremendous resume. He's the only man ever to lead the NCAA, the ABA, and the NBA in scoring. He won a championship in the ABA, I believe, with the Oakland Oaks in 1969. And he won a championship with the Golden State Warriors in 1975. I believe he led the league in steals one year in the 70s with the Warriors. So in 1979, 1980, when he was with the Houston Rockets as a reserve player, I think there was a game when Barry hit 8 3-pointers in a game. If I'm not mistaken, I think there was a game in 1979-80 season where Barry hit 8 threes, which is like the equivalent of someone hitting 25 threes in a game today, right? Maybe even more so, like 30 threes. Because, now I think about it, it's more than that, because teams were taking, 2 3-pointers a night? Maybe 1.5? And I think he went 8 of 14, if I'm not mistaken. I got to look at the stats again for it. But also has the highest scoring average ever for a Caucasian player. 35.6 points per game, 1966-67 season. Took his team to the NBA Finals, where they lost in 6 to the 76ers. The team went 68-13 during the 81-game schedule. Barry averaged 40.8 points per game in those finals, which at the time was an NBA record, eclipsed by Michael Jordan. So He's a great player. You know what I mean? I'll take nothing away from Barry. Playing in the ABA also made Barry a better player. Um, he became a better ball handler playing in the ABA. He became a better defender. His conditioning got better playing in the ABA. You know why? Because the ABA, initially, the talent in the ABA was inferior to the NBA. But what happened, I believe, and I think most people agree with this who are familiar with the ABA, while the center position in the ABA was inferior, they had superior guard play compared to the NBA. They had better athletes in the ABA. The ABA was known for having perimeter and swing guys who were flying through the air dunking. You know what I mean? The NBA game was more grounded still, more conservative play. And if you're Barry, you got to play against these guys over time. Your conditioning is better. You know what I'm saying? Your conditioning gets even better. I think Barry dropped like 10 pounds, more than 10 pounds playing the ABA. He was a much better facilitator when he got back to the NBA. And, I mean, just was a tremendous guy, tremendous player. In the mid-'70s, I think he was the best player in the NBA. But anyway, I don't have a problem with this take. I really don't. I don't have a problem with this take at all. But tell me what you guys think.